Hi, sir. Have a good day. Now, we will be discussing our curriculum guide and our lesson plan. By the way, I am Lori B. Armontejo and I am with.
Navarros A. Moda.
So now, let's proceed to our curriculum guide. But first, I will be explaining our content and performance standard. For our content standard, the learners demonstrate understanding of the strategies in identifying informative short narrative text as well as informative speech forms using passive and active voice, simple past and past perfect tense, and sentence connector. While in our performance standard, the learners shall be able to apply appropriate voice formats and rules correctly and appropriately using active and passive voice, simple past and past perfect tense, and sentence connectors. So these two standards are connected to one another through informative text as well as extensive speech form. So now let's proceed to our maps. Take it away, partner.
So we have here four milks. So first is explain the mechanics of appropriate format in making informative speech form using passive and active voice in writing and composing a sentences. So we have here a four sub-competences which are write an informative speech using passive and active voice in writing a paragraph. Number two, use a connective words or format in writing a speech. Number three, apply the appropriate format in making informative speech form using passive and active voice. So number four, compose an informative speech based on a significant personal experience. So number two, Melks, is rationalize the use of passive and active voice, simple past and past perfect tense, and sentence connector in a writing a speech. So we have here a four sub-competence. So, ex- first is explain the common errors in passive and active voice and sentence connector in a paragraph writing. So, number two, use a passive and active voice meaningfully and varied context. So, number three, use appropriate passive and active voice strategies to animate a written script for a purpose of delivering information or executing speech form. So, number four, create a speech on a current issue, body shaming, separation of families, bullying, and social media platforms. So, number three, Melks. So, apply the rules of passive and active voice, simple past and past perfect tense, and sentences connector and a paragraph writing. So, we have here a four sub-competence. Write a statement in a both active and passive voice for a paragraph. Number two, use suitable words using in a sentences to make a coherent statement in a variety of settings. Number three, crafting a sentences. Use appropriate active and passive voices. Number four, apply and distinguish why passive and active voices, simple past and past perfect tense are appropriate to use in a certain text. So, the last milks, we have a construct a self-composed persuasive speech with simple past and past perfect tense, appropriate logical connectors for emphasize and modifiers. So we have here a four sub-competences. So number one, use appropriate modifier. Number two, determine whether the sentences employ the appropriate text and terms in the simple past and past perfect tense. Number three, illustrate the distinction between the simple past and past perfect tense. So the number four, apply the simple past perfect tense using and sentences connectors in writing and informative speech.
Thank you for that, partner. So now we will proceed to our assessment. In our assessment, we can test the knowledge and understanding of our students. So Here, in this portion, we can assess how much the student understand the lectures through the half of the following, which is we provided the formative assessment, which is the quiz, speech writing, memorized speech, reporting, matching type, and oral repetition. While in our summative assessment, we provided a performing a speech, multiple choice type of assessment. So that is our curriculum guide. So now let's proceed to our 5 lesson plan. So now let's proceed to our lesson plan. So for our lesson plan, we are assigned to create a 5 lesson plan and we created a 4A's lesson plan. By the way, sir, we also created this as a semi-detailed 4A's lesson plan. So now I will be presenting our first lesson plan for the day 1. So here it is. So for the day 1 lesson plan, our learning competencies is students who will learn how to use active and passive constructions in borrowed context. So let's proceed to the objectives. By the end of the lessons, the students will be able to first differentiate active and passive voice by using graphic organizer. Second, identify the sentence in an active and passive voice. And third, share with the class the importance of studying the correct foundation in constructing a sentence form. So let's proceed to our subject matter. In subject matter, we have here our lesson, which is use active and passive voice meaningfully in varied contexts. I also provided there the references, which is Class 8, English Grammar, Chapter 15, Active and Passive Voice. The materials that will be needed is PowerPoint presentation and pictures. So in our procedure, we have here the routinary activities. First, we have a prayer. The teacher will choose a students to lead the prayer, to be followed by the greetings and the checking of attendance. To start the lessons, we will be first having a review. Before the lesson proper, the teacher will ask the student to recall the last topic that we discussed. What was our last topic and what is all about? And let's proceed to the activity. To gain the attention of the student, the teacher will show or present a picture about active and passive voices, and the student will guess if it is passive or active voice. Here, I provided 4 pictures for the student. So let's proceed to our analysis, wherein the teacher will introduce the topic to the students by using PowerPoint presentation for the guidance of the learners. So now let us know more about active and passive voice. Here in our analysis, I provided the definition of the voice, the 2 types of voices, which is the active and passive voice. Where here, the teacher will discuss the following voices of verbs. I provided the definition of active and also I provided there some example. Just like in the passive, I also provided a definition of passive voice and I also provided a example to test the understanding and know the knowledge of students. I have here provided how to change active voice to passive voice. Here, in, in an active voice, Bea presented an excellent presentation. In, in converting or change into passive voice, it will goes to the excellent presentation is presented by her, and so on and so forth. So let's proceed to the abstraction. In the abstraction, we can test there the understanding and the knowledge of each learners. Here, I will group the students into 2 groups. Accordingly, each group are tasked to differentiate active and passive voice, wherein they are given 30 minutes to make the activities. And after that, we will start the presentation for the activity. Each group will differentiate active from passive voice by using the graphic organizer below. I also provided there the criteria for judging and also the some example for the guidance of the students, and also I provided there the graphic organizer for them to use it in their presentation. So now let's proceed to the application. In our application, the teacher will ask the student to the following questions, wherein those students who will participate in our oral recitation will receive a points. I have here some examples and some questions to ask to the students. And now we will go down to our assessment and evaluation. In one half sheet of paper, the student will identify the active and passive voice, write A if the sentence is active voice, and write P if the sentence is passive voice. So here's the question, and also I provided here the answer of each question. While in my letter V assessment, the student will differentiate active voice from passive voice in a one-up sheet of paper. They were going to differentiate the sentence if it is active or passive voice. So here, I also provided some questions and I also provided the answer. So we will go down to the last part, which is the assignment, wherein the students will compose a sentence or speech using active and passive voice and try to differentiate active and passive voice into sentences and give its example. So that's the lesson plan for our first day. So now let's proceed to the lesson plan for our second day. So here, our learning competencies for our day 2 lesson plan is students will learn the categories of informative speeches through discussions and games. They will also demonstrate gain knowledge on how to organize an informative speech by giving their own speeches. We will go down to our objectives. At the end of the lessons, the students should be able to first, identify the main categories and organizing procedures of an informative speech. Second, observe the proper delivery of line in a one-act play. And lastly, demonstrate an informative speeches. In our subject matter, we have here the topic, the materials, and the references. So now we will go down to our learning procedure, which is the routinary activities. We will have there the prayer, greetings, and attendance. So here, before our lesson will be start, we will be having a review. The teacher will ask his or her students to recall previous lessons that were covered. After hearing the recalled topics, the teacher will now present some example to enlighten his or her students' knowledge of the previous lesson. While here in our activity, to lift the students' spirit, the teacher will show a short video clip about performing a speech. Following that, the teacher will ask his or her students if they notice anything related to the previous lesson and will ask them to guess what will be the next lesson. To gain their attention, the teacher will show a jumbled letters. The teacher will ask the students to arrange the jumbled letters that I provided below. Okay, so now let's proceed to our analysis. In the analysis, the teacher will now properly introduce the particular topic to the students. The teacher will now explain how the students will compose an informative speech based on a significant personal experiences. This will allow the students to understand their thoughts and observe proper line delivery of their own speeches and how they will use and consider and appropriate various formats and rules correctly and appropriately in composing a informative speech. As the lesson properly begins, the teacher will start to discuss the appropriate and effective speech convention. Here, I provided the definition of speech convention, the different types of appropriate and effective speeches. So here, so now let's proceed to the abstraction. In the abstraction, the student will now ask this, the teacher will now ask the students to generalize the lesson that have been covered after the discussion. The students will now make their own informative speeches as an application of their information quality. Also, the teacher will ask the student what is the importance of using the appropriate and effective speech convention in performing a making own speech. So now, to apply the understanding of the students throughout the discussion, the teacher will give them 10 minutes to familiarize their informative speech, and after that, they will be performing their own speech based on the significant personal experiences. Here, I provided some example, which is a speech by Rudyard Kipling. The title is If. So here. So the criteria of for judging is here the relatedness to the topic 25%, creativity 25%, uniqueness 50% with a total of 100%. So now we will go down to our evaluation and assessment. Our assessment is called Connect an Advice, Poem, or Speech. Direction: write a speech that offers advice to a best friend, family, classmate, and loved ones. Write two stanzas of poem or speeches using the following words and phrases below. Here I provided some words for them to use it in their informative speeches that they will be making. So the last part is the assignment. Direction is write a short own informative speech about your life goal. After that, you'll practice and memorize your speech presentation. So that is the lesson plan for our second day. So now let's proceed to our third lesson plans that will be tackled by my partner. So partner, take it away.
So in the third day, we have a lesson plan. So we have here a the objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to determine the difference between the past and past perfect tense, use the past and the past perfect tense correctly in varied context, and acknowledge the importance of using perfect tense in a sentence. So we have here a subject matter. The subject matter, we have eight topics: past and past perfect tense. The materials is the materials are visual aids, PPT, projector, and a screen. So in the references, we have a instructional manual. So to be followed the learning procedures. So in the learning procedures, we have a routinary activities. We have a prayer, greetings, and attendance. So to start the lesson, we have a review. The teacher will ask his or her students to recall previous lessons that were covered. So after the hearing that recalled topics, the teacher will now present some example to enlighten his or her students' knowledge of the previous lectures, and ask the students to write one sentences of a direct speech and one sentences of reported speech. So in our activities, the teacher will give five example of sentences to determine the past perfect tense. So I provided here the four statement, and I provided here the answer. So let's go to the analysis. So in analysis, the teacher should discuss the past tense and the past perfect tense. So in the past tense, it is formed from verbs, and the past participate can be used, and adjectives are used to form a verb tense. So in our past perfect tense is used when you are telling about a complete action before something in the past, and a past perfect tense is formed by using the word had plus past perfect tense. So let's go to our abstraction. So we have here the teacher will let the students to match the sentences in a column A to column B to complete the given sentences. So these are the column A and the column B. And to our application, the teacher, so the following the discussion, the teacher will give the students approximately 15 minutes to study the lesson. And after the 15 minutes, the teacher will conduct an oral recitation and prize a point to the students who could respond to the teacher's question. And the teacher will ask the volunteer to summarize what is the past and past perfect tense. So, to measure the learnings of the students, we have the evaluation and the assessments. The direction is complete the following sentences in the past perfect tense and the simple tense. So we have here the 10 evaluation. So this is the evaluation. So, so in our assignment, on this part, it is in an individual activity for everyone to take part in. So the students state an everyday scenario where the use of knowledge in past and past perfect tense in the context. And the fourth day, this is the lesson plan. We have the objectives. So at the end of the 1 hour session, the students shall be able to classify the correct and incorrect sentences, illustrate the sentence with Dangler modifier, and revise the sentence with Dangler modifier. So we have the subject matter, which is the topics, materials, and the references. So our topic is Dangling modifier, and the materials, which are the visual aids, PPT, projectors, and the screen. For our references in the instructional manual. So to our learning procedures, we have a routinary activities. We have a prayer. We follow the greetings and the attendance. To start the lesson, this teacher will review the previous lesson and Reci- recapitulate the grammar topic misplaced in the modifier. So we have the activities. The teacher will act as the supervisor of the English supermarket, which is the ESM. The ESM supervisor will invite the students to buy a sentence says for it is the market opening, and the class will deliver it into two groups. In each of them will receive a 1,500 tokens to be used to buy a sentence in the market. So in our analysis, I provided here the definition of what is a modifier, the modifying phrases, and the dangling modifier, and its examples. So in our what is modifier? So modifier is a word, phrases that describe or changes the meaning of another word, and phrases are closed in some way. In our modifying phrases, a modifier phrases clearly indicate what the phrases and the modifiers. In our dangling modifier, a dangling modifier is a verb or clauses that does not modify any elements in a sentence. So these are the examples. Searching on the internet, many facts are easily obtained for the report. So the revise of these sentences, searching on the internet, we easily found many facts for the report. And for our abstraction, the direction of this is read the statement and choose the correct form of verb. So I provided here the four, which are the multiple choice quizzes. And for our application, both group will ask to answer the incomplete statement written in a cartolina that would summarize the topics. So we have that question. The two important ideas that I learned about the dangling modifiers are the students will answer this question. So we have here a valuing. So valuing most of the time, we are like a modifier. We are easily misplaced and dangled by our problems in our life, which leaves us hopeless and miserable. Like modifier, we tend to go on different direction, which leads us to not to understand ourselves and worse, make us give everything up, and dangling modifier will remain us to accidental comedians. Life may Life may tough, but we can make it wobble if we laugh no matter how hard the situation is. We must always find a reason to laugh. It may not add years to your lives, but surely it will add life to our years. So we have here the evaluations and the assessment for us to be able to measure the learning of the students. So the teacher will get one whole sheet of paper. They will choose whether the sentences presented are correct or whether it has a dangling modifier. So we have here I provided here a four questions. And then the students will rewrite the sentences that contains a dangling modifier for it to correct. And for our assignment, the students will ask to get their notebook and copy their assignment for the next meeting. So the teacher and the students have an advantage reading about non-standard language on the book, English for a brighter word page, na page 290.
All right, thank you for that, partner. So now let's go down to our last lesson plan for our last day. So here, our learning competencies for our last lesson plan for the fifth day in a week is the students will learn how to use and apply the past and past perfect tense and sentence connectors in writing a speech. Here are our objectives. By the end of the lessons, the students will be able to: first, they will distinguish the basic forms of past perfect and past participle. Second, use past and past perfect tense in sentence connector in writing a short speech and discuss and perform their own short informative speeches. So we will go down to our subject matter. In the subject matter, which is our lesson is the use of past perfect tense and sentence connector in writing a speech. Also, I provided there the references, the materials that will be needed, the PowerPoint presentation, and the pictures. So let's go down to our procedure. In the procedure, we will have a itinerary activities that have a prayer, greetings, and the checking of the attendance of the students. So to go to our lesson proper or analysis, we will first have the review. As a sort of review, the teacher will ask some students to recall the lesson from the previous discussion, the teacher will ask what was our last topic and what is all about. So now we will go down to the activity. Before the proper lesson start, the teacher will present different GIFs will be shown to the class. Each GIF conveys different meanings. The student will be asked for their interpretation. Expectedly, they may have different understanding, therefore all answer will be entertaining. So now let's go down to our analysis. In our analysis, the teacher will introduce the topic to the students by using PowerPoint presentation for the guidance of the learners. Now let us know more about the use of past perfect tense and sentence connectors and writing a speech. The teacher will now properly introduce the particular topic for the guidance of each student. So now let's proceed to the abstraction. In our abstraction, the teacher will ask the students to give the gist of and to summarize the lesson. The teacher will ask the students the following questions to the students, and to those students who will participate in the oral recitation will receive an extra points. The teacher also conduct an oral recitation in which students can answer the question will also get 10 points. In here is the question: what is the importance of past perfect tense and sentence connectors in writing a informative speech? So we will go down to the application to test the understanding and knowledge of our students. The application is, we will call it write something up, which is write something up and it's speech writing. The students will compose a short texturing the given information with the use of past perfect form of the verbs. Here, I provided some verbs or words that they will be used and their guidance to make a informative speech. All right. So we will go down to the assessment. In our assessment, we can also test the understanding of our students. I provided there some 10 item quiz about past perfect tense. So here it is. All right. So now let's go down to the last portion of this lesson plan, which is the assignment. So in the assignment, the students will compose a memory speech about the following: the body shaming, separation of families, bullying on social media platforms. So that's all our 5 lesson plan with my partner, Novi. All right. Thank you so much, sir.